For several episodes, we've spoken of soil, of roots, water, sun, of the elements that allow a trustworthy life to grow. Now we'll return to the ground, but not the untouched earth. We return to the process that renews it. We speak of compost, not the finished, fragrant humus, but the raw, pungent pile itself. The place where what is spoiled, broken, rejected, and painful is subjected to a deliberate, transforming rot. This is the final and most potent stage of the cycle, the alchemy of what we call bad into fuel. Our instinct is curation. We want the flawless harvest, the perfect blossom. We try to build a self from success and light alone. The rest, the missed opportunity, the humiliation, the bitterness of betrayal, the invasive weed of jealousy or anger, we attempt to delete. We bury it in a corner of the psyche and hope it stays quiet. But in a living system, there is no such thing as waste. What is buried, but untreated, does not disappear. It putrefies. It leaks toxins into the groundwater of our mood. It becomes chronic defensiveness, unexplained sadness, low-grade anxiety with no clear source. The attempt to erase the bad only gives it a more subterranean power. Compost offers a radical alternative, not deletion, but invitation. Bring the rotten thing into the center of the process. Do not hide it. Place it on the pile with intention. This is a work of the inner alchemist, and alchemy was never really about turning lead into gold. It was a spiritual technology for transforming the base material of the soul, its suffering, shame, and heaviness, into wisdom and freedom. The alchemist's rule was solve et coagula. First dissolve, then recombine. We dissolve the bad not by reliving trauma, but by breaking it down into its irreducible components. We ask it questions. The alchemical turning. First question. What is the irreducible nutrient here, the solve? Failure is not simply I lost. It is a data point of brutal clarity, a limit of skill, a misread of conditions, a strategy that didn't hold. Pain is not just suffering. It carries information about a boundary crossed, a value ignored, a truth we couldn't face gently. The nutrient is never the pain itself. It is the diamond hard fact hidden inside of it. Second question. What can this nutrient now grow? Coagula. Here we stop being historians of our hurt and become engineers of future substance. The nutrient of a failed venture coagulates into discernment. The nutrient of heartbreak becomes a deeper capacity for real intimacy. The weed of envy, when dissolved, reveals an unclaimed desire for growth and can be composted into a plan. This is how waste becomes fuel. The rancid food of a mistake becomes the nitrogen of insight. The wilted leaves of grief becomes the potassium of compassion. The torn scraps of humiliation become the phosphorus of resilience, strengthening the inner stem. But composting requires turning. We cannot dump our failures into a psychic pile and walk away. Untended, they rot anaerobically, sealed, sour, toxic. Turning introduces oxygen. In inner terms, oxygen is present moment awareness without judgment. We return to the material gently, curiously. This one again. What has it broken down into now? We layer the raw emotional greens, anger, grief, shame, with the dry browns of perspective, time, context, compassion for our former ignorance. We acknowledge, I was younger, I didn't know yet, I acted with the tools I had. And we keep turning. This breaks the monolith of I am a failure into specific workable lessons. It decomposes betrayal into discernment. It breaks anger down to its core signal, a boundary that must be drawn, a value that must be defended. Slowly, the material changes state. It cools, it darkens, it loses its original shape, it becomes humus. Humus is not a lesson list, it is a condition of the soil. In the psyche, humus is wisdom, not knowledge about suffering, but a depth that silently shapes future decisions. It is patience grown from former impulsiveness, quiet confidence grown from frailty, compassion grown from knowing pain from the inside. The great teachers understood this. They did not present lives of uninterrupted light. Their stories are filled with loss, foolishness, betrayal, the prodigal son, the seed that must die in the ground, the leaven hidden in the dough. They showed the base material openly and trusted the process already working within it. So we become custodians of our own decomposition. We build a sacred pile. Into it goes the project that failed, the cruel world that landed, the hope that turned to ash. We don't worship it. We don't deny it. We simply add it to the process and keep turning. And in time, with air and attention, we discover something quietly astonishing. There is no waste, only material awaiting the right conditions. Our failures are not tombstones, they are the deepest layer of fertility. The final harvest is always grown in last season's rot.